Andrew Greer here with CCM Magazine, and of course with our guest of honor for today, Miss Sandi Patty, and our good friend, Patsy Clairmont. I'm so excited that you guys are in the same room. I don't know, I may just leave. Let you go. You know, the first thing I thought about is that, okay, your connections, you're both authors. You both have had a significant contribution to the...
Okay, just hold on there a minute. She's an author.
Yeah.
Let's just put it there.
Okay.
She's an author.
I was giving
I
credit.
may have some books.
Okay.
There's a big difference.
Okay. Well, but I've heard her sing. So... And I hear that you both, so this is a connection, you both have been awarded, you're both a recipient of the Female Vocalist of the Year Dove Award.
That's right.
That's right.
So, yes.
I know
yes.
you ain't singing in public.
You know, the probably the second year that I was with Women of Faith, Patsy and I were asked to do the pre-conference, which was during the day on Friday, before the conference started Friday night and Saturday. And I told Patsy I just had the best idea that we do something to end the conference together. And she said, do you mean singing? I said, maybe. So we did a version of Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Oh, dear God.
It was amazing. And Patsy then came up and did the little... in the middle part. Do you remember it?
Yes.
If you need
but
me.
it's the speaking part.
Yeah.
Because she was sparing the audience.
But then you stayed up and finished the rest of the song and sang
I
with
did.
choreography.
Yes, and a boa.
And a boa.
Okay.
I mean, that's very
And
important.
sunglasses.
Yes.
It was-
Big sunglasses.
And I was so proud of her that at the end of our run, I gifted her with one of my Dove Awards. Female Vocalist of the Year.
And I just don't tell people it was a gift. See, when they I let them just think what they want to.
Right. God
No,
works.
it was a great honor. I remembered saying, kind of lipping it over to her in what I call a whisper, can be heard for about 3 arenas. I said, I can't take your award. And she said, I've got more. And then I found out, that she was the most awarded singer like ever in the whole world. I think the thing that has really impressed me about Sandi along the way is her investment in other singers. I mean, the singers that would come in, no matter how much fame they had, were in awe that they were this close to her. She was always so gracious and so affirming. And I would watch her nurture the hearts of every team, and our teams changed from one season to the next of worship singers. And she was their biggest fan. Mm-hmm. And when they would come up, she would whisper things in their ear, and I would watch them go from wondering if they were all right to thinking that they were amazing because Sandi had spoken encouragement into their hearts. You really are an encourager, and you really are a teacher, and you really have a spirit of generosity that is just unbelievable.
This is the most uncomfortable. I don't like talking about myself or other people talking about me. So I'm going to talk about you. You helped tell a story. You first said, you've got a story. I said, no. And you just ask questions over the weekends I'd be with you. And you'd just say, now, what was your favorite toy when you were a kid? And you just kind of let me sit with that for about a week. And just different questions. And then I got brave enough to send you what I was going to speak on the year I talked about layers. And I remember you saying to me, you never ever push your ideas. You just suggest, here's a thought, something to think about. Maybe you just understand personalities so well. Some people need time to think about it. So you would say to me, I wonder wonder, as you're talking about that you put on this layer and this layer, what if you actually put a coat on? What if you actually put a hat on? What if you wonder what that would look like? And so then I'd sit with that for about a week. And I'd come back and say, so I'm thinking. And I just loved how you didn't yank my story out of me. You just gently just said, it's okay. It's safe. It's okay. And you kind of held it for me to look at, and not to feel shame about it, but to feel a sense of maybe this can be of an encouragement to someone else. But in the process, when I was telling it and I put those layers on, the power of taking them off one by one every weekend. And I think somehow you knew that would happen, but you just let me find that. I love how you teach, and I love how you've taught me and spoken into my life and held my story so gently until I could hold it myself. I've always loved that.
Well, it's been a joy to watch you grow and watch you have the courage to share what felt initially so shameful, because when we hand those shameful parts of our story into the mercy of God, He transfers it to the people as a gift for their own shame. And I watched that happen weekend after weekend. As you would risk it, He would mercy it, and then He would gift it into their life. It was a lovely thing to be a part of, so thank you.
Well, and Patsy, I don't mean to interrupt.
I forgot you were here.
I love talking about you today. So, how you helped Sandi. I mean, tell me what that looked like to begin to help Sandi tell her story, but begin to really share and tell that, and how important that was not only for her, but for the Women of Faith family, for you personally.
One of the things that has impacted me in the last 11 or 12 years of my life was getting the opportunity to travel with Women of Faith. I knew of Women of Faith, but the only one I knew was Sheila, just simply because she and I'd been friends for 40 years. And then I just one by one began to meet the rest of the team. However, I wasn't going to invest every weekend, because here's how in my mind it was all going to play out. They were going to invite me. I'd be there a weekend. Then they'd get letters saying, Sandi's been through a divorce. This has happened. This has happened. You can't have her speak on the Women of Faith platform. And then Mary Graham wouldn't want to call me, but she'd call me and say, honey, we love you. We loved having you. But, I just think right now it's just still so fresh for people. So we're going to have to uninvite you.
That's what she thought.
That's what I thought. That's how, in my mind, I thought it was going to play out. So because that's what I thought was going to play out, I wasn't going to risk getting to know anybody. I wasn't going to invest. So I really kept to myself. I stayed in my dressing room. I didn't ask questions. I answered what was asked. And I thought, I'm not going to risk this, because I, in my mind, had this idea how it was going to play out. So every week I kept expecting my manager to call and say, so, I got this call. So 1 week went by, 2 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks went by, and I never got a call. I did get a call that someone who was a guest singer was going to have some medical issues. Would I be willing to replace her for the rest of the conferences? It's like, wait a minute. Now that's not how, in my mind, this all played out. And I said, well, yes, I would love to. And then I began to watch. And I began to see everyone come off the bus, because I didn't want to ride the bus with everybody. At the time, we had the option to or not. But I began to see everyone come off the bus with a story or something that had happened just because they were all together. And I thought, you know what, I am missing out. So then I started riding the bus and sitting in the back and watching. And then little by little, I just felt like they were creating such a safe space of grace. Not just for me, but just because that's what they did. And little by little, I just felt myself yearning for that. And so I just began. First, I risked with Sheila because I felt like I knew her. And then it's like, hey, some of us are going out to eat Saturday night after the conference. Do you want to go? It's like, oh boy, that's like 3 hours and I can't get away. But I said yes. And it has revolutionized not only my heart, but my family. Because we came into Women of Faith loving each other and loving our family, but knowing we existed as a family through brokenness. But we came away from Women of Faith after those 10 years, learning to celebrate who we were as a family.
And it was quite a ride for all of us. We were so joyous as a team to have Sandi consider the risk of being our friend, because we had a lot of love to invest in others, and we knew about spaces of grace because we've each needed them in our own life. And so we were very happy when she risked stepping into that. And then when I was asked, would I help her to put her message together, I was like beside myself. I thought, with all her years of experience, she really doesn't need any direction. And I thought, really,
I was much more comfortable hiding behind a song. The idea of speaking scared me to death. It's all of a sudden, this is real me. I can't hide behind the song. Okay, I just wanted to insert that.
Well, I have invested in thousands of people in regard to helping them find their story. I love doing that.
Yeah.
I love pulling it out. But you and Kathy Tricoli, who were both very, very experienced on the platform, both used your main gift as a refuge for your hearts. And it was my joy to step in and say, let's risk just a little more in the safe places of what you have to give. And as scary as our stories are, that's our safe place, because that's what God has allowed us to experience. And so as both of them took the step, the reason it was such joy for me to work with you and Kathy was because all I had to do was say one little suggestion, and you guys had a hold of it, embraced it, internalized it, and used it on the platform. It was, for me, thrilling to watch as you both came into a new discovery of who you were. That was really quite wonderful. I thank you for that gift.
Well, I thank you for, I don't know how long you think about how to approach someone, depending on their personality. What am I going to respond? I think Kathy probably, I would say maybe you took a little bit of a different approach with her.
Very.
But you knew questions for me would ponder. I would ruminate on them. I would think. And I would also watch you too. I would study you. And your timing with an audience is like impeccable. And I would just watch, okay? And then you'd deliver a line, and I'd think, okay, wait for it, and right at the right time, you'd say it. That is what impressed me, to go, all right, she knows what she's doing, and you did all of that beautiful, trained and skilled stuff, and told your story at the same time in some hard parts. And I thought, okay, if she's gonna, I trusted, what I'm trying to say is, your willingness to be vulnerable made me believe you when you said it would be okay for me to be vulnerable.
And if you think about that, in turn, that mentorship and that care of your story, then because that allowed you to share it, the ripple effects of that, not only you sharing your story, but you placing your expertise and your care and love into Sandy's story, then has influenced thousands upon thousands of people to tell their own story or to understand their own story, coming back to that. I'm interested, Patsy, what about Sandy's story, as you began to learn more of her stories, y'all began to become personal friends through this relationship. What about Sandy's story has impacted you in a way maybe you didn't expect, or maybe even changed some of your perspectives inside your family, your personal life, or even from what you speak about?
I would have to say that hearing the recovery of her family, learning about the steps of restoration, and just the courage it took, because they were being held accountable on a regular basis by the church family, and they were given assignments and had to go back for recovery purposes and for extending apologies and working through forgiveness. I was blown away by that. I just thought what that would take to be able to go back in what appeared to be a failure and to be able to take responsibility for it and ask forgiveness. And I thought she and her husband Don worked so hard in their recovery. That had to be healing for each of the children, to see them continue to walk through, even in their process of it, just that you kept on doing the right thing and the next thing. And I think your children were as thrilled for you as you ended up being thrilled when you came into Women of Faith. And yeah, and it gave us a chance when she started bringing her family to get our hands on them, because we wanted to love on them.
And loved on them, and everybody, all the kids responded in different ways. Anna loved the organization of Mary Graham. Donnie loved the bodiness of Lucy Swindoll. Everybody responded to different speakers in different ways. But what you kind of all said was, we're real, we're Jesus followers, but we're real and we're authentic, and we just love you just where you are right now today.
Yeah, we're family.
Yeah.
That's what family does. We embrace each other. There were many levels of learning because of the extreme situation the family found themselves in their recovery. So I think the most impressive thing that was fresh and current for me to watch happen was being able to step in, and it's the hard places. It's those hard things where you go to a child and say, I have offended your spirit and I need to ask your forgiveness. I mean, wow, that was really impactful. And as she began sharing some of the recovery from the platform, you could just see what it was going to be doing for these people who were also in very broken families and needed to go to someone and say, I was wrong and I need to be held accountable for this thing that has caused you this pain. And so I think that was probably the most impactful for me.
Well, to bring it back to music, the thread of music, Patsy, you're a big music fan, you're a musician. The thread of music is, at least in my life, has acted as a counselor in many, many moments. So then how have you seen music in the context of your story really texturize it and really give it the hands and the feet to be able to reach others? And both of you can speak on that, however.
Well, I think one thing is the way that you're doing your a final tour with the family. I mean, everything about that is so carefully woven through the story that is part of all of their lives.
Yeah. When Dawn was with me one time with Women of Faith, it was Hartford, Connecticut. And we never, we celebrated each other, but we didn't want to put it on the public and say, hey, congratulate us. We understood there's stuff to work through. But Shonda was there, and Shonda said, Mary, you need to have Dawn and Sandy sing the prayer. And Mary's like, oh, maybe next time. Anyway, I don't know how it ended up happening that we did, but we did. And I remember Lucy Swindoll, who's a huge music fan. She knows music. And I know she's sitting there in her seat, saying under her breath, don't mess this up, don't mess this up, don't mess this up. And we sang the prayer, and I think that was for us a beginning moment of sort of, I almost think of the woman caught in adultery, and Jesus covered her. And then after everyone left, and he said, where are your accusers? And I almost feel like for a moment she just could barely bring herself to peek under the covering, to just go, wow, wait, they're not, I'm supported by the King of Kings. I'm covered by him. And I think in that moment, that's how I felt. It was like, really? I knew God loved me. I knew he loved Dawn. I knew he makes all things new. But I had counted out the fact he could use me again. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I think there's a lot of doubts that come with our mistakes and our shame, and the enemy would love to keep us isolated. And I think in that moment of being in the light, that it gave you that sense of here's another level of healing for us.
Yeah.
And I have to say, from the team's position, since I was right there as this was unfolding, we could not catch our breath and we could not stop crying. It was exquisite, absolutely amazing. And we would look at each other and cry harder because we didn't know how else to express this incredible moment.
And then to end the tenure with Women of Faith, and my family, my kids choose to come along on the journey as much as even being on the stage and singing some of the songs. And honestly for us, and I think for people who really knew so much of the journey, for us to sing It Is Well at the end to kind of close the set really was, it was powerful for our family to be able to look at each other in the eye and not ignore the stuff, but to say in the midst of it and in spite of it, it is well, was another, which I think has allowed us to now do this tour called Forever Grateful. And I have something I want to give you. So Allie, who's one of our kids, she's always making stuff. And I asked her, I said, could you please make kind of a signature necklace piece for the tour? So trying to get this off, she designed it, hand stamped it, and made everyone by hand. And it simply says grateful. Because you know what, Patsy? You are one of those people in my life for whom I am forever grateful. So I just want you to have that from my neck to yours.
From my dove case.
We're
to
necking.
yours.
This is so sweet. Thank
Isn't
you
that just
so much.
lovely?
It is beautiful, and I love that Allie did it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.